All right. Let's go next to Michael driving around in his truck in Kentucky. Go ahead, Michael.
Hi, George. Hi, Carmen. How are you both?
Good.
You had mentioned earlier in the program about anomalies in your photographs inside the pyramids. Could you elaborate on that? I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Michael. Actually, these apparitions look more like smoke, and they were pink and green with white edges. But what's happening I've taken lots of groups over to Egypt, and over the years with higher resolution cameras, more and more orbs are being seen, and there's people who have studied orbs, and they actually, if you blow them up on these high resolution cameras, there's geometric shapes in there. I've got John Burke and Claude Swanson talking about these electrified bits of air. Now, people who have studied them will say that the orbs are ancestors, energy beings that like animals, they like sacred sites, they show up more at dawn and dusk, and it's energy. There's something to it, and when there's a really high vibrational frequency, there are more orbs. And that's another way of knowing that as we go through this transition, we're getting more in touch with this kind of energy because there's more orbs in the pictures. I mean, sometimes it looks like a blizzard. There's so many orbs, and they're very well featured in episode 2 of the Pyramid Code. So they're real, and you can poo-poo them and say that it's dust on the camera. There's much more to it than that. Thanks, Michael.
What do you think happened to this wireless power system that they might have had?
Oh, well, Tesla was driven into obscurity because nobody could make a profit.
Right.
All of this
they
is
buried
about
him.
A monopoly of people making money at our expense. And so we're all paying through the nose and being controlled. Like if you don't want to be on the grid and you want to use wind power, you got to pay a levy because they've got us and they want us paying our money to them. It's completely unnecessary. We have access to this technology now, and we always have. And Hakeem will say it takes a beam of the sun on water moving through a zigzag pattern, and there's tons of research that's been done. But that's the other thing is the different disciplines don't speak to one another. It's all about money.
Always
and someone's even said we wouldn't need money if we didn't have utilities. We could just barter everything. It's really, really, really an incredible thing. And in other countries where people can't afford it as much, I was saying this when we went into break, they just don't charge as much. Imagine running an air conditioner 24/7 in 50-degree, that's Celsius weather, for $9 a month. I mean, we are just paying too much. And and when you think it's not necessary, that's really threatening the powers that be.
And here we have old people dying, freezing, or just getting too much heat because they can't afford their electric bills.
No, there's really
doesn't make
wrong.
any sense. Time for a couple more calls, and then we are out of time. Pittsburgh, we go. In California. Hey, Carter, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Carter.
Yeah, how's it going there?
Good.
Yes, I was wondering, what's the difference between the Mayans' pyramid and the Egyptians?
Well, there's a lot of associations between the Mayans and the Egyptians, and there's some Mayan pyramids that were built a long time ago, the oldest ones that register a lot of orbs and a lot of activity in terms of the pyramids being charged. It's the more recently built ones that don't have that kind of charge. So they were the ones that were built out of ego in a later time, which is, again, an indication that older was probably purer. And we talk about the Mayan calendar and the Mayans, and in the Pyramid Code, and they understood the importance of the galactic center and the pole and the whole way that the galaxy worked. And so it's just totally fascinating that more than one culture was very cognizant about our place in the universe.
And with those cultures, Carmen, again, lost information. It doesn't get carried on to us.
And the more recent copycat versions of what they were doing don't work. Like they're not charged.
They don't work. They don't work at all.
Right.
Panama City, Florida, we go. Alex, we'll squeeze you in there. Go ahead.
Thanks. Dr. Boulter, I had a question about the missing capstone from the Great Pyramid.
Uh-huh.
I was reading Chariots of the Gods by Eric von Däniken, and I'm really into that.
By the
book.
way, he's our guest last hour, Wednesday night.
Really?
Sweet.
Yes.
I'll be up for that.
He's out in Switzerland.
Getting back to that, possible that, because you're saying that they had a huge power source underneath the pyramid, that they actually used that, the capstone, as like a spacecraft, and it could use the power source to launch that, into space for interplanetary interstellar travel, or that they might have used it as a weapon system and could have possibly used that to nuke Atlantis. And I'll take my answer off the air.
Well, you might not be wrong.
I really don't think that it was a weapon system unless it was taken over by another group, and that's not the root of who the real Egyptians that built this stuff were about. That definitely no. After the capstone was taken off, I have heard that it would have been a landing spot to charge up craft. Again, I don't really think there's enough room up there, and it's also not completely flat because I've been up there a couple of times. So I'm going to say no to that, though I have heard those theories.